What it do, and welcome back to another episode of The Weekly Wind Down, your favorite chat show hosted by yours truly, Jer Bear, aka Jeremiah Neal, aka the Pop Culture Maven, aka a little Miss Nerviosa, girl. Oh my goodness. Y'all, right after this recording, I'm headed to the dentist to get a filling. Yes, I confess, your girl has been eating way too many gummy bears still, even though they told me to stop. And it's finally catching up to me. But for real, y'all better be taking care of that oral health. Oh my goodness, it's so costly. I always thought that my medical bills, like from a hospital, would be the costly thing in my life. No, it's a damn dentist. I'm still paying off a root canal from damn 2-3 years ago. So first of all, let me stop throwing myself under the bus, girl. Y'all don't need to be knowing all my business like that. But nevertheless, that'll be my advice to y'all this week. Take care of that oral health. Anyway, what it do, y'all? The spring allergies are no joke. They're in full effect. So I apologize if I am giving y'all, if I'm sounding like Britney Spears on that S&M remix with Rihanna. Sucks in the air, I don't care, I love the smell. Oh, Britney, I miss my girl. Shout out to my girl. Y'all see her hanging with her sons? I'm happy for her. Y'all, did you hear that Ryan Coogler is bringing back Animorphs? Yo, this is so cool. Where my Animorphs girlies at, y'all? Fun fact, I was actually a huge nerd back in the day. Y'all know about those reading competitions that they would have at elementary school, that if you got like the top spot, you would be able to go on a limo ride and stuff like that. They would like display your name in the cafeteria, all that stuff. Girl, your girl always won, or at least I was always top 3. And this was all throughout grade school. All the grade schools I attended, I was always like that. So for Ryan to be bringing back a series that I was like in adoration with as a kid, this is super cool. And I totally trust his expertise on how he can bring this to life. But for those of y'all who don't know, Animorphs was about a group of friends that they got special powers to turn into animals that they touch. And their objective was like to be fighting aliens. But just think, for context, like Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter. So it's a vibe like that, but for kids and teens. So I think it's going to be cool with all the special effects. And, you know, he's been a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe Centers. Like, this is going to be super, super dope. I'm very excited to see that in theaters. Also, speaking of theaters, y'all better be going to support my girl Halle Bailey in her new movie You Meet in Tuscany, girl. Y'all listen, true talk, y'all already know we only get about one black rom-com every 20 years. We had a nice phase in the 90s, Love Jones, Love and Basketball, you know what I mean? We had a nice vibe, but since then it's very hard for us to get a movie like this. So we got to show up and we got to show out. Plus, Regé, that's how you say his name, he is not too bad to look at, honey, okay? Even for the straights. So y'all, the inspiration of this episode actually is coming from the haters. No shade, no haters. I don't have any haters. It's all a squad. But I'm getting some pushback in the comments of one of my videos calling out millennials for digesting what I call fast food music culture. Example artists include Cat's Eye, Ice Spice, Pink Pantheress-esque music. So for those of y'all who know, I worked in corporate tech for about 8 years. So research is my research. That's all I do is sit there online and Reddit forums and just the internet, just looking up stuff and trying to just like absorb as much as I can. I really take my title as the pop culture maven very seriously. So I've done my research and I know that millennials make up a huge margin of streaming consumption on both Apple Music and Spotify. Now, I know that Gen Z, you know, they doing their thing out there in the world and they getting their coins, but they don't have the coinage and the responsibility like the millennials do. Millennials have such a big spending power. They are keeping the concerts afloat, especially all these reunion tours. But I know my stuff, y'all. But anywho, these people in the comments were pretty much saying, no, millennials don't listen to that type of music. And I'm like, yes, we do, y'all. But it was so funny trying to have to like defend myself in my millennialness. When if anybody knows me, they know that I am the most millennial of them as they come. Thus, here we are. And actually, I am very excited about this episode. So if y'all are ready to go down memory lane, I say let's get into it, y'all. Let's get it popping. Let's go. Hold up. Actually, before we get it popping, what was y'all very first ringtone? I want you to sit and think about what was your very first ringtone on your phone. Now, back in my day, y'all probably like, for my Gen Z listeners, y'all probably like, what is you talking about? Or maybe people still do this, but when I was growing up, unless you was using one of them built-in ringtones, which some of them was actually kind of cute, girl. There was one crunk one, anybody that had a razor had that one, girl. I used to love that ringtone when it would go off in class and the people used to get their phones taken. I don't know why I always thought that was so funny. Shout out to Virgin Mobile too. They helped a lot of us millennials down. The ones that weren't cool enough to have the sidekicks. You know, we had our little Bobo versions from the pay-as-you-go Virgin Mobile. But anywho, my very first ringtone outside of the built-in crunk ones was Soulja Boy's Crank That. Which is so like not me, because although I do consume rap, I would say it's probably in like the bottom 5 genres of music that I listen to. So it's just so funny that in that era I really loved my rap and I really loved Soulja Boy, and I feel like it was such a time to be alive. Like that was the first viral moment to my generation when it comes to like a debut record or like a debut song for a debut artist, and how that video blew up on YouTube. I hope there's another platform that can have that type of magic again, because I'm just grateful that I was able to witness it. But yeah, we truly had a golden era, y'all. All right, so y'all, we got to get into the main millennial topics, the reason for the season. Our first topic of conversation is something that revolutionized communication amongst friends in a way that I personally have never seen before, and I don't think we'll ever get an era like this again. But I'm talking about that acronym, those 3 letters that stood for AOL Instant Messenger, girl. AIM, 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 AIM. Poor child, y'all. There was nothing better than running home from school just to hop on there and chat with people that you just spent 8 to 10 hours with. But y'all, we would rush home just to sit there and keep on. But to be honest, I don't blame us, because there was so much tea that could happen in a day at school. And some of us had like split classes and stuff like that. Shoot, even on a bus ride.
I know that's right.
Stuff was always developing. Now, y'all, this is where things get a little exposing, I guess, of me. This is why I was so hesitant of even doing the chat show, because I was like, Jerry, you're going to have to be vulnerable and like talk about your upbringing, which is something I've shielded, I would say, from the public for such a long time. But nevertheless, growing up, y'all, my parents were super religious and super strict, especially when it came to the internet access, which means if I wanted to use AIM, I either had to sneak on our desktop computer, which was always a red flag, because you know they'll be burning like the dang sun. A hot tamale girl just sizzling. So it would be so obvious that you were using it. The house laptop, they also get super hot. So it's very easy to tell that you are using it. So my quickest solution would always be going to my friend's house to use their computers. But can y'all imagine little Jer Bear forcing my way into somebody's house using their family computer so I can update my away messages just so I could fit in with the squad, be with my friends? I'm super thankful for my homegirl. Shout out to Kelsey. Shout out to Kathleen. Y'all really came through in times like these. Times like these. Come on, Addison. But they gave me access to social currency, which is something that we so craved as millennials. We really wanted to fit in, not necessarily with the cool kids, but with your squad of folks. Everybody had them a clique of friends, 5, 6 deep, you know what I mean? And you always wanted to be in communication with each other. And this was the way to do it. Now, I would say they did have this version that you could use on like a web browser, but girl, she had very limited features. She was not as cool. You couldn't change colors and use like the same emojis and stuff like that they had on there. And also it wasn't as instant as the other AIM people using like the ones that were built into their desktop, because y'all got to remember, y'all, we was using that dial-up internet at the time. So files used to be taking 10 minutes of 2.3 MB file, a picture that we can download instantaneously. Nowadays used to take 10 minutes to download. But we always fought through, y'all. Your girl fought through. We always made it happen. We always found some type of way. Even if it was only 3 or 4 times a week, I was always on there. And the other thing about the web browsing ones is it didn't have that noise of when you were signing on and off. I loved that door sound when the people would leave. I don't know why. I just loved that noise. It was like the original thirst trap or a way to get someone's attention. Something like that. I don't know. Now, in retrospect, as an adult, I can semi-see why my parents were hesitant on not wanting me to be on AIM, because why were we 12, 13 years old in them chat rooms talking with them crazy people, y'all? I'm talking about the crazies. Everybody loved talking about ASL, which stands for 8 section location. But we know them people was lying, girl. For all we know, we could have been over there talking to Palm Beach Pete. I'm glad I could rely on myself, my little Inspector Gadget MacGyver self, to find a way to, again, stay and remain involved with the digital world, especially when it came to AIM and all these parental control setbacks. But I am understanding and happy of especially the privacy views parents have today. I'm definitely grateful for that as well. I feel like 2 truths can exist. Kids and teens deserve the right to express their individuality and to be able to remain within the crowds. There's nothing worse than feeling like isolated from your friends. But parents also should kind of be privy to what their kids are being involved with on the internet, because y'all, when I say it's some crazies online, it's some crazies. Not just me. But shout out to AIM, y'all. It was nothing like leaving my little yellow card or my Britney Spears lyrics as my status. I feel like that's honestly where the pop holigan meets sprouted. Speaking of online personas and initial social medias, we got to give it up to the OG up in this thing. Okay, Miss MySpace. Shout out to Tom. Give Tom his tens. Everybody better be having them two fingers touching. You know it's tea when you see them two fingers touching. Now, in all fairness, I feel like every single social media platform has had its era. Facebook, Tumblr, Pinterest, Twitter, IG. But MySpace was a rare breed, y'all. On the aspect of connectivity, I was able to meet so many friends and interact with so many other teens and dancers and kids from neighboring schools, all thanks to MySpace. Besides the social element, it was also my favorite way to discover new music. This is where I found out about one of my favorite boy bands from the mid-2000s, NLT, which produced Kevin McHale from Glee, Travis Garland, Casey Brown. I'm an instigator. Cassie, y'all. I found out about Cassie on MySpace. And don't get me started on the customization features. You know, I'm really surprised I'm not an Android user to this day, because as much as I would sit there and code and devote my life and energy into my MySpace page to make it as unique as possible, like, this is why it will always be one of my favorite platforms to me. I didn't just have no top 8, y'all. I had a top 36. Now, why did I have that? First of all, and in retrospect, the majority of the people, they wasn't even my friends. So I kind of wish I would have just kept it simple with the top 8. That's my message to y'all. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it selective. But nevertheless, the fact that like my ingenuity, and a lot of us was doing this, making our pages just these cool little websites and these domains, it was wild, actually. And I feel like we all need to be using that energy today. We all have the capabilities. We were always doing it 20 years ago before it was what social media is now. So y'all better go back to y'all MySpace days. There's a big topic of conversation. Everybody keeps saying MySpace should come back. I remember they tried. There was a moment they did have like a little stint. For me, I'm kind of indifferent to this idea because I do feel like they had their moment. And I also feel that we're in a period where all the platforms have established what they're good for. And this is a cool vibe. Like, you can cross promote on multiple platforms, but it's also cool to have like unique identity on each social media platform. But the community that MySpace was able to manifest and develop, I don't think can be replicated. And I think that's what they're wanting. They want that magic to just come out of thin air again. And I just don't think like we've just evolved too much as a society for people to want to be that individualistic, but still yearning for community. I feel like the closest to that, no, TikTok can't even compare, because your homepage, you can't customize the same way. It's just like we split everything that MySpace is. MySpace was a hub for everything. Now that we have just like split up into individual packages is what I'm trying to get to. But also, I guess in a way, TikTok is the closest that I can think of when it comes to like an independent artist promoting themselves. I think it's very MySpace as well. I feel like YouTube made it to where if you were an independent artist, in order for you to get discovered, you had to do a bunch of covers of other popular songs at the time, which was a great strategy. But then the majority of those people ended up being cover artists or cover musicians. And I know that's not where their heart lies. A lot of people are singer-songwriters. They have their own beats that they produce. They want to show that side of themselves. But in order to remain popular or keep the bag, they had to keep doing them covers. I'm talking about William Singh. What's that boy? Connor Maynard. So many artists had to like go that route. But at least on MySpace, you could just push your own stuff. It kind of also gives me, I guess, SoundCloud. SoundCloud is probably another good equivalent of you just being yourself, you putting yourself out there. And if people with it, they do. And if they don't, oh well. But we definitely could use that kind of energy back. And I'm so glad and so thankful for everything that Tom was able to give to us from that golden era. I would say 2004 to 2009. He was on top of the world. Now, y'all, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. My addiction to retail therapy, which I have been in remission for a couple years, so I'm really good and thankful about that for. But it started really early on. All of the women in my family, who were the ones that raised me, loved. When I say loved, they loved going to the mall. Going to the mall. Going to the mall. Come on, schoolgirls. And I think I adopted those traits from them from the longest, because to be honest and to be frank, there was nothing like mall culture in the 90s and the 2000s for me. When I'm talking about earliest memories, I remember going to get my picture taken at Sears. My mom putting stuff on layaway at the Kmart that was in one of the malls in Palm Beach, walking around, smelling everything, seeing all the kiosks. I just remember being so enamored. Back then, they used to have like the gumball machines and the little horses that the kids used to ride on in the play areas. I don't know. I just always spent a lot of time at the mall. Now, mall culture in the early and mid 2000s, y'all. Now that was on another level. I blame Mean Girls for that addiction that it sprinkled on me, because when that movie came out, I think it came out when I was in the 7th grade. After that, That's all I wanted to do. Now, I wasn't acting like the Mean Girl squad, but it was just like one scene where all the kids transformed into the animals and they was running around. All the malls used to actually be that popping, y'all. And I used to love it. Just crave hanging out with my friends on the weekends at the malls. You had to hit up American Eagle, Hollister, PacSun, and Aeropostale in that order. Okay, heavy on the Aero when you only had about $10, but you wanted to get a couple t-shirts. You could walk out of Aero with 2 t-shirts for like $8. What a time, girl. But occasionally we would head to Spencer's for the gag gifts. And then in high school, I used to love getting the skinny jeans from Hot Topic. I think Hot Topic, they probably still do. I haven't been to one in years, but they probably have some of the best skinny jeans or well-fitted jeans that I have ever like come across, which I think is super fun. I was always with my girlies too, so we always had to stop at Victoria's Secret or Pink or Charlotte Russe. But y'all, I'm so mad. Did you not know that Limited 2 was ran by Jeffrey Epstein? Our country is so weird. I don't know if y'all can relate, but there was also a lot of local stores and entrepreneurs who had local boutiques at the malls, especially in South Florida at the Boynton Beach Mall. This is where you would, if you wanted like your 4X tall tee, them big Jinko style jorts that were really popular in style, just like the Crank That Soldier Boy music video or my White Tee music video, that D4L style. They will always sell them here, and they will always have a title like Fits for Less. We used to kind of laugh at those stores as a kid, but in retrospect, I actually think those places were kind of dope. And shout out to them for keeping a pulse on the culture, especially when it came to carving out the lane for what streetwear is, because now that's all we see. In 2026, when you walk down the streets of like a Bushwick or a Soho, you're going to see people taking those elements that those people were still selling in those little boutique style urban stores back in the day. So shout out to them. And they were ahead of their time. I wish I would have spent a little bit more time in those stores. I would always go in there to get my do-rags. But outside of that, malls, you could always get everything that you needed as a millennial. Oh my God, I was actually about to leave the segment without acknowledging the most important part of the mall, y'all, the food court. Oh my goodness, back in the day, the food court would always hit. I'm talking about Orange Julius. I'm talking about the Chinese spots that they would give you like 3 portions for one person. Again, for like $8. I feel like that's where the dollar stretched the most at the mall. And don't even get me started on Mrs. Fields cookies. The scent of it, I can smell it right now. Even with the seasonal allergies, I can smell it. Good times. Just letting y'all know, this might be my favorite segment. I don't know, because Millennial Hood. Teen entertainment was on another level, and I'm so grateful of all that I was able to consume as a teenager. I'm so glad that there was actual like teen content, because now I feel like this current generation, they just skip over this and they want to just become an adult. And I'm like, no, y'all, like get into your kid and teen programming. So I'm gonna let it be known. I was a PBS girly. Reading Rainbow, Arthur, and Zoom were shows that I just couldn't get enough of, especially Zoom, y'all. Like, I think that's probably where I got my first bug of like wanting to be a part of like the entertainment business, wanting to sing and dance in front of people, and seeing those kids do their thing was so empowering as a kid. So also shout out to Zoe, shout out to my girl Lanice, shout out to Pablo for the representation. See, PBS was about that life back then. Now, as a tween and as a teen, we already know the trifecta of entertainment was Nickelodeon, the Disney Channel, and Cartoon Network. What kind of girlies were y'all? For me, I totally was a Disney girly for sure. Disney gave me super polished, super refined, and the best part of it was I felt like they had the best incorporation of music. Oh my goodness, I will stand by this. The Disney Channel concerts were one of the best things that the Disney Corporation has ever done, and they need to bring that back. They launched so many artists from these concerts. NSYNC, Hoku, Samantha Mumba, Five, Bewitched, like all of them had iconic and unforgettable shows. Plus, Disney got all that moolah because they were the ones doing the production of it, and they were also driving tourism to their parks. So the budget doesn't ever have to be an issue. Like, they have that going on and on and on, like Erykah Badu. Anywho, my order went Disney Channel, then Nickelodeon, then Cartoon Network. Although I really did love Noggin and Teen Nick a lot. Every Friday night, I had to get into that Degrassi. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for Degrassi. I was literally the same age as the people on the show, so it was like the timing of everything could not have been any better. Obviously, Marco Stan, and shout out to his queer visibility role on the show, but I'm gonna be honest, y'all, don't judge me. I had the biggest crush on Spinner. But I'm just so grateful that we had shows like this. Like, they introduced themes and topics to us that were important and things that we were going through. But nowadays, I feel like we got the 5th graders over there watching Euphoria, and it's just like extremes on extremes. You know what I mean? They got a whole lifetime to be adults. And so sometimes we don't have to rush it. We need to bring back that type of programming for the teens. But overall, my aesthetic, my coding, my DNA is like, that's why people kind of call me like corny and cheesy, because I'm heavily inspired by my Disney folks. Taj Mowry, my queen Raven Simone, oh my goodness. goodness, like she's part of the reason why I moved to LA, because I wanted to do exactly what she was doing. The Cheetah Girls, the Disney Channel movies, y'all. Oh my goodness. One of my queer awakenings was definitely motocross. That lake scene when that boy was taking off his shirt and diving in the water. Oh my goodness, y'all. If you know, you know. You know what I'm talking about? We also had, it put me into, I don't want to say white culture, but it exposed me and helped me understand a lot of the white girls at my school watching shows like Lizzie McGuire. So Disney was very important in just who I am as a person. And if you, I hope it gives you more insight as to how I express myself. It's very Disney coded. Now, I will say I love Nickelodeon and how they would put on, it seemed like they put on more blackness on Nickelodeon. Nick Cannon was running Nickelodeon, I felt like, for a good 10 years. He had about 5 dang shows. Then he had his girl group, the Schoolgirls on there. They had a TV show. Keke Palmer had her show. That boy JJ, like a lot of black folks had shows. And I loved that. A Little Romeo show, I think, was on Nickelodeon too. You see what I mean? Where was Cousin Skeeter? You see what I mean? All that. Nickelodeon was for the blacks. So, and Nickelodeon Studios, man, at Universal Studios in the 90s, you could watch Double Dare live with Suzanne Summers, was it? And Mark. Y'all, like, this is what I'm talking about. This is childhood. This is what it means to be alive. Wild and Crazy Kids, The Adventures of Pete and Pete. I don't know, I might have to check that. I am very Disney coded, but Nickelodeon had that in the bag too. The only thing I feel like Cartoon Network done produce is a bunch of Ed and Eddies that are currently running the government. So, no, I did like Powerpuff Girls. Let me take that back. But as y'all can see, we clearly need to go back, or they clearly need to be innovative. Because that boy that made the Powerpuff Girls, y'all, he was only like 19 years old when he made that show. Again, there's no age, there's no nothing. If you want to be the next Disney, just be the next Disney. We need to be up in the ante on this content and making genre for all folks. Kids, teenagers, adults, everybody need to get that good. That's what I mean when I say we need to go back. We need to go back to that type of like audacity when it comes to making well-rounded content. Gullah Gullah Island. I was about to leave her off the list. Oh my gosh. This is where I was going back and forth on talking about if this is my favorite segment or not, because I think this might be my favorite segment, but I don't know. When I listen back, it might alternate every single day. But it's time to get into my favorite topic. Y'all know, the music. Millennials, we grew up in the best era of music. And this is because we had great foundational elements from the 50s through the 80s. I would honestly say the 60s through the 80s is the main crux of at least what I grew up with, or what my dad was heavily influenced by. But then we got to grow up through the actual 90s and the 2000s, which in my opinion were the best eras of music. This is when some of the best music was ever created, emitted, put on a cassette tape, a CD, and an MP3 file. I was able to live through all of those waves. And the fact that vinyls are coming back now, it's like I'm through everything. I ain't got no 45. But there's just like too many artists to name that I grew up with that kind of influenced me and what I like. If you like any other people that I name, y'all, we can be friends and we cool. Your girl got to grow up with artists like SWB, Natalie Imbruglia, Toni Braxton, Destiny's Child, Counting Crows, Britney Spears, BB Mac, Five, Cleopatra, Jamiroquai, NSYNC, Coolio, Panic at the Disco, 702, Erykah Badu, Paula Cole, Seal, Coldplay, Spice Girls, The Pharcyde, Jewel, Alanis Morissette, Outkast, Shania Twain, Red Hot Chili Peppers, JoJo, Liberty X, Backstreet Boys, Christina Aguilera, Gorillaz, Linkin Park, Missy Elliott, Aaliyah, Sierra. First of all, I could have kept going and going and going and going and going, girl. You can't tell me we didn't have the best music being released at the time that we were growing up. And the coolest thing about it was all successful. Everybody was all thriving and shining in their particular genres. And I love that. Artists really need to bring back their own individuality. Like, you can be a dope ass country artist, a dope ass soul singer, a dope ass rapper, and a dope ass pop singer, and all of y'all can be really killing it on the charts. And all y'all can be collaborating. Sixpence none the richer. But now everybody is just poaching at each other's genres, and it's all becoming this big blob, this big melting pot that at the beginning it was kind of cool, but now it's just mushed. They got Morgan Wallen out here sounding like T-Pain, and then they got the nerve to say that Beyonce isn't country. Like, y'all don't even get it. Now, we just named like why we love the main topic of music, but how we access the music, how we got the music, how we got to listen to the music was super important in my teenhood. And nothing will ever, and I repeat, nothing will ever beat the rush of risking your life to download/torrent a song from Limewire, girl. See, back then, a virus was kind of like make or break for your computer, for your Dell. Everybody had a Dell. But for real, y'all, I'm not playing. I was ready to risk it all because I needed to get my my Brooke Hogan. I needed to download that Lil Wayne. I needed to download that Danny the Kane. Okay. I can finally remember waiting like 45 minutes for a mini edit of a Paris Hilton song called Turn It Up. The song wasn't even released, and someone like put together a snippet that I think I probably heard on like PerezHilton.com. And low-key, I preferred the Limewire version. I loved all that little extra booms and bangs and crashes and such that they would add onto those mixes. And of course, their plugs. But for me, it was just like, we figured out a way to be able to listen to that music somehow if it wasn't accessible. And that's something that I'm so proud of on my musical journey, especially as a consumer and as a supporter. I know that I would go to the ends of the earth through links and measures just to hear the songs and the artists that I loved. The cool thing about me though, y'all, is even though I was downloading these songs, as soon as the official records would come out, I would definitely go to the stores. Like, I'll never forget 2006, Danny the Kane and Paris Hilton dropped their albums on the same day. Rush on over to Target, got in trouble, got grounded because I wasn't supposed to go, but I showed up went and I got my CDs. Oh well. Now, for the most part, you know, even if you had CDs and stuff like that, we wanted to listen to songs that we liked. I would listen to full albums, but this was in a mixtape era, okay? So in order to listen, in order to consume the songs, we wasn't just playing them from our phones, y'all. We had our methods on how we were going to consume these songs. Number one on my list, which is like my personal favorite, was burning CDs. I feel like this is a lost art form that needs to come back in some type of way. We have playlists on Spotify, but it's like not the same. Like, people, I feel like, just like to listen to what they like to listen to, and they like AI and the algorithm to curate stuff for them. They don't like to like go out of the way to like listen to actual humans curation. But burning CDs was a gift. Nobody was coming for my mixes. The only person that I think was coming for my mixes was my girl Camille. Shout out to my girl Camille from high school and middle school. Her curation was top tier. She got me onto Brooke Valentine, Crime Mob, a lot of Total, a lot of 2000s gems. Thank you, girl. But yeah, I was very intentional on what my mixtapes on my CDs were giving. Like, the playlisting had and the tracking had to flow. You couldn't just be throwing stuff on the CD. It had to all kind of make sense. And I would take my time, my meticulous time, sometimes hours a day, just making sure that these burnt CDs were just going to be the talk of the town when I arrived at school the next day. And I had to pass them out to a couple of my friends. And this is where I could practice my impeccable handwriting with my gel pen. But again, the early start of me evolving into a culture curator. Then, y'all, we kind of like upgraded. There was a period before iPods that like mini disc and MP3 players were the big deal in town. And I've always been so like into them because I always found like an MP3 player super suave and sophisticated. Like, they used to come in like the shapes of beans or like, I don't know, they were really cute. But the only issue is I will always lose them like a mug, y'all. And that would be so irritating because there's nothing worse than like you having to ride the bus home from school, or you got to be waiting for your parents to pick you up and you ain't got no music. It wasn't no just play it from your phone. All you could play was them da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da ringtones that I was talking about earlier in the episode. But the girlies now, they don't understand how easy it is to just have access to everything on your phone. Your money, your music, your social media. Like, back then, everything was so a la carte. And I think there are elements of my life where I feel like that would be cool to get back into that wavelength. I feel like it brings more expressiveness, more individuality, just how you move as a person. And I feel like Apple did a really big number on us mentally over the last 20 years to feeling like we need to be able to keep up with the Joneses and to be able to maintain connectivity with each other and be like a cool kid, instead of just getting back to basics on like what suits you. What do you like? Do you like the customization features? Like, how can you curate something that actually fits you? So yeah, a little food for thought. But y'all see that everybody is getting back, like I said, into their vinyl players. They're starting to get back into their VHS tapes for their VCRs. People are starting to realize that it's a lot more than just nostalgia, y'all. Those methods actually work well. Like, this was a nice fusion of technology that actually worked with human touch and absorption. It reminds me of the Mary-Kate and Ashley movies or the remake of The Little Rascals. Obviously, there's like technology, but there's still youthfulness and fun. Like, you can still go play outside with your friends and have a life of socialhood, but you also were ingrained into like the digital techie side of evolution. And we were the last generation to experience that. So in that case, we're the only generation I feel that can actually like bring back that sense of duality. We don't need the man in the boardroom curating our lives. We have a choice to pick up and select what we want to watch, what we want to consume, what we want to involve ourselves in. I just truly hope that me going down memory lane with y'all this episode empowers you to kind of get back into the audacity that I felt that a lot of us had in our millennial tweenhood and teenhood, y'all, because we were so fearless. We were literally curators. We were literally coders, little starters, you know what I mean? And I know we still all have that same energy within us. So in order to put that same energy out there, in order to feel it, we got to vibrate it out out there back into the universe. That's the only way we can truly get back into those glory days or obtain that glory feeling vibration that everybody is like longing for nowadays. Anywho, y'all know I'd be so long-winded. I've been talking. So I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Knowing me, there's going to be a part 2 and a part 3 because there is so many elements that I did not touch upon. But if you loved this, please give your girl a 5-star rating. Share this episode with a friend. Get into the Patreon, y'all. I've been doing some music recommendations, some audio and video diaries. We about to launch Ask Jer. I'm going to give y'all some sound advice. So your girl is truly in the flow, and I'm feeling very grateful for that. I hope life is bringing y'all nothing but waviness, joy, peace, comfort throughout these crazy times. Please protect yourselves and keep shining that light out into the world, y'all. That's all we can do. Just go with the flow and be you. I appreciate every single one of y'all that sit here and listen to me rant, mumble, and share my inner thoughts. But if only y'all knew how much joy that this brings me, it's my favorite thing. So thank y'all for enjoying the weekly wind down, and I will see y'all next week. Holla.